Speaking of which, did you have anything to say to him about this Iowa State comment, or did he just misspeak?
We talked about that. I don't think he misspoke. You know what? With recruiting right now, it's year-round, and we use our players to recruit all the time. And you know, one of the big selling points they all hear from us, because he heard it 5 years ago. You know, we are the only game in town. College football in Iowa, there is no pro teams. There are no pro teams, no NFL franchises, no NBA, no major leagues. So we talk to recruits all the time about we're the only game in town, meaning college football, and you know, not trying to be. So yeah, I think that's all he was relaying, because he promised you he's talked to a lot of recruits prior to that press outing, and you know, we're all kind of programmed to say that. So I think that's all it was, and then it grew legs. But
so if his statement translates to some of your recruits as we're the only game in town, that's fine.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you know, we're not, obviously when we talk to recruits, we're not selling Iowa State or Northern Iowa.
Right.
We're selling Iowa. You know, so I mean, that's it.
What would you compare it to?
And just I'll take it a step further too. I mean, you know, he knows as well as I know, as our local media knows, my career record against Iowa State's nothing to write home about. I mean, so to think that we would look down our nose at them, and we beat you and I by like that much last year. So I mean, that's kind of ludicrous for anybody to say that we don't have respect for those programs.
What would you compare? The Hawkeyes seem to me it's like almost like the Steelers and the Packers and like the Cubs all combined a little bit.
I don't know about the Cubs. I'm going to stay away from that one. I love baseball analogies, but how about the Cardinals? I'm more of a Larissa guy.
What would you compare it to? I mean, what was the fan interest? What would you compare
I'd say Packers and Steelers, and we'll stay away from Cleveland. But when I was in Cleveland, it was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And then the whole wheels came off of that thing. But yeah, I think the Packers are a great. It was one of my thrills coaching in the National Football League was to go to Lambeau Field. Mm-hmm. It felt like a Big Ten game. You drive through, all of a sudden, boom, there's the field. You're driving through neighborhoods and all that stuff like you do in a lot of Big Ten stadiums. It was so collegiate. And then Pittsburgh, the people are just. And I coached at the University of Pittsburgh for one season back in '80. We had a heck of a team, and it was all about the Steelers. So yeah, there's and that hit me in '81 when I came out there. I used to tell recruits. People in Sioux City know who the backup right guard is. They're second. Nobody knows who the backup right guard is, and that's before the internet, 1981. So it's the neat thing about coaching in Iowa, I think, is the passionate fan base that we have, and they were so loyal through the tough times, and we're trying to avoid those tough times. Mm-hmm. But we don't want to test their patience. But I can't imagine as much more loyal fan base.
Hey Kirk, Ricky's won a lot of games. Terrell Pryor's won a lot of games. Are there any other similarities between them?
Probably. Well, I was going to say both. They have an Ohio connection, but it's very different. One guy left Ohio, one went to Ohio. But yeah, they're just two different quarterbacks. But they're, at the end of the day, to me, you judge quarterbacks simply on how do they move the team, how they lead the team, and it's not like a starting pitcher in baseball. What's their record in ERA? And both of them, you could argue, have had great success.
Is it interesting that guys can be so different, but obviously, still both pretty successful?
Yeah, and I think for the most part, that's what makes college football so unique and interesting. And I'll go back to 2002. We had Banks and the guy at Ohio State, the chemist. Cincinnati drafted him, right? Craig Grenzel.
Yeah.
Very different guys there, but can't argue the results with either of them. And so there's a good one right there, right?
Yeah.
2002 to 2010. But, the bottom line is teams really doesn't matter. It's kind of like offensive systems. I think there's no right or wrong. It's about getting the job done and having production. And Pryor's just had a tremendous career already. He's still a young guy, so it's really interesting.
You've seen NFL quarterbacks, they throw an interception and they call out their receivers. Ricky, you mentioned last year, every interception he threw, he called careless on his part. Is that unique? Among other quarterbacks you've been
He's not a pro yet. He'll learn.
Oh, right. But
that's another good thing about coaching in college, see? I'm joking about that, but that's how he thinks. That's how he thinks. And one of the great things about him, nobody's harder on Rick Stanzi than Ricky Stanzi. And that can be a negative too. He's got to lighten up a little bit. And, there's more than just his. There's a lot of things going on out there, but his attitude, his ability to be critical of his own performance, and his interest in improving. I mean, I think that's why all of us respect him so much.
Clearly, he focused on the interceptions a lot this offseason. Did you ever have to tell him, "Hey, Rick, don't focus so much on that"? I mean,
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
too,
a little bit. You know, it's like it's like free throws or pitchers walking guys. I mean, at some point, you don't be talking about negatives all the time. You know, you just don't want to. It's pretty soon that just comes part of your mindset. So, but I think he's also demonstrated nobody's got a better ability to have something go wrong and then come back the next play, next series, and just nobody can flush it better when it's tough. And there's no way we win the Indiana game last year if he doesn't have that ability. 'Cause we dug ourselves one heck of a hole there.
I mean, how does that affect you going into a game knowing that, hey, your quarterback has that success in the fourth quarter?
I mean, that's great. It's rare, and it's. What am I telling you? I'm enjoying it. It's just I just know how he thinks, and that's very comforting. That's very.
Coach,
He's not the only guy, but it's just
Right.
he thinks right.
we talked about Brett Morris a little bit before.